Okay, thank you very much, guys. Welcome back to it. I don't know if we have any issues about it. Please once again confirm you can hear me perfectly. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think a few people. So like I was explaining, um Power BI, we're learning Power BI. So I'll just run through. So it might be just run through. Start from there so I can get the whole course. So what exactly is Power BI? Like I was explaining, is a business intelligence tool developed by Microsoft that allows you to connect data, transform it, analyze it, and build interactive dashboards and reports. In simple terms, Power BI helps you turn raw data into meaningful insights. That's what it helps you do. Helps you turn raw data into meaningful. So instead of looking at thousands of rows in Excel, Power BI helps you to create visual dashboards that helps decision makers understand trends, performance, and patterns instantly. Yeah, so I said that Power BI helps company track maybe sales performance, financial reporting, marketing analysis, customer insights, your customer insights, operational dashboards. So it's one of the most in demand tools today when it comes to business intelligence analysis. It has a lot of integrations because it's powered by Microsoft. So that's why. Why is it important? We definitely live in a world of data, like we know, and businesses generate massive amounts of data every single day. These data sets are very much for the Excel to handle, and getting real business intelligence analysis difficult in Excel. So Excel developed on Power Query, they push to Power BI. It allows organization to make faster decisions, just viewing at the insight, because it gives much room to building visuals. It helps monitor KPIs, identify growth, detect risk, and the rest. And personally, you're learning Power BI. There is just only Power BI can increase your salary potential if you're into analysis, much job opportunity, strengthen your CV, and position you as a very good data professional. So if you know Excel, Power BI is a good next level. I can want to know one formula. Pick up on any tool, any Power BI is actually good. So the Power BI ecosystem has the Power BI desktop, Power BI service, Power BI mobile. Desktop, the desktop is one you downloaded, which is in your system. Service is the cloud part of it, which is online. That's where you actually share your reports and others can work on reports. Then the mobile, I mean, API and for checking your KPIs triggers on mobile. So this is the desktop, I think, runs through, gets run, then when you get to your Power BI, you see this is my Power BI desktop, the one downloaded on your system. Desktop, use it to port data, clean data, create relationships, write DAX formulas. DAX means data analysis expressions, and build your visuals. Power BI service is online. Go by www.powerbi.com. Taking the Power BI service, you have to register with a company account, then helps you to share dashboards, to do refreshes, then create workspaces for people to collaborate together, manage accesses, mobile parties to view dashboard on their phones and tablets, and for executives to check KPIs on the go. So when you open the Power BI like this, see the reports view. When it opens straight to the reports view, this is where the reports view is. can see from if you look at here, that's on the left hand, you see the report view, see the table view, see the model view. Yeah, those three views. So let's work on these two later on as Power BI you know how to use tax and for here for quick start for basics, you have the report view, table view, model view. So the report view where your dashboards and visuals are built. That's where this is where you build your dashboard. Then the table view allows you to see your raw data in table format, which you're going to see. Then the model view, where you manage relationships between tables. And at the top of the screen, you have normally your ribbon here, similar to how you have in Excel. You have the home, bring in data, you see the transform, to the modeling, home tab, model insert tab where you insert the modeling tab where you work with your models, where you transform your data to, where you transform your data is in the home tab. Then on the right side, you always see the data tab. This is import data, see the data tables here, data type. That's the visual side where you do your formatting of visuals. You select your visual. Filter side. Filter side is where you filter, add your filters. So these are called panes. Yeah. Okay, you see the fields pane, data pane, the visualization panes, and the filter pane, pane P-A-N-E. Yeah. So that's that's how it looks when you just open Power BI. Going to start by importing our first data. You can import data from different sources using quick this quick import shortcut. For here, you can import from Excel, import from SQL, or import paste into a blank table, use sample data that you have. When you want to get data, you go to the Home tab, get data. Since we are working in an Excel data for the course of this lesson, but I believe we passed through all of this. What are the data I use? Healthcare data set. Then I open it. Once you open, okay. Here, once it loads, you see if the data set has sheets, see the sheets inside. So this data has sheet one, sheet two, Excel file, Excel file. So that's why you see one of the sheets is users, the other one is transactions. So you can select and preview if it's actually the data you want. My users table here, that sheet. Yep. Then I can select my transaction sheet. Once you select it, you see a preview of the data. So I left you two options. First option is either you click to load it or you transform it. Basically, as an analyst, you want to work with clean data, definitely go to transform from beginning just to clean your data first. But for now, let's just load it, get to the transform part, go back to Power Query editor. So we load this data as simple as that, bringing in your data into Power BI. You can get it from different sources. Data was in. Please confirm you are still hearing me. Okay. So it loads the data. If the data was in different any kind of source, yeah, Power BI allows you to integrate different sources, be it in text CSV file, be it on the web where you can put the URL, be it on semantic models, those ones are data you understand, be it in databases, any kind of database, Power BI will allow you to link to. So we click load and the data set is loading. I think data set about 10,000 rows, very small, depending on your specific what you're running. Yep. So once it loads, what happens in data after importing the data? See that automatically it comes to the data tab. These are the data, just in the data view here. So you can find it, you can see the data, title, headings, table, two tables, this transaction, this is users, these are the title, the headers, are the headers for the users table. So you can see it in the data view once it's loaded. You can also see create relationships with them. You can even start building visuals. So you can create measures using DAX measures in DAX. So measures are like usable calculations that you use throughout. You can use it throughout your analysis. Then so the way Power BI works, like I explained, connect to the data, transform the data, model the data, analyze the data, and share sites. That's how Power BI. So there's something else I would like you to understand. If you are getting data, for example, you're getting data from Excel, like I just did, it will just import it once, import it straight. It will go straight to import, import to import, and you see the data set you are importing once you get that. Another method called direct query. But before then, but for this one, we can see we are using a one and go to data tab here, table view, see our data set in kind of, remember I said this is the report view, this is the table view of view. So the table view now helps us to see our data table format, just like the way you see your data clearly, and how it is. Look at how you cannot see this in cloud Power BI service. Power BI desktop, you always see it. So the first table is healthcare transaction. Next one is healthcare user. So the users table contains demographic information about our, let's say, the patients of Treat Solutions, Treat Healthcare, sample company I used. And the transaction table contains hospital visits, visits, videos, payments, costs, and all for the year. I think it's for 1 year, 1 year, just for 2 5. If from so from this we can actually use these tables, these data sets to learn facts and dimensions, then relationships, then time series, that's time intelligence analysis, then do some other analysis just with it. So once you import the data set, actually see them, you can actually do your cleaning. But for you to, if cleaning wasn't done properly, you can go to transform, data. So what I was trying to explain, import and direct query. So when connecting the data in Power BI, you will notice two main options, especially when you are connecting to a database. For example, let's say we are trying to connect a MySQL database. Click on more and come to maybe from a database, come from MySQL database. Once you click on it and hit connect, it's going to ask you for, no, just on that type of database. So it will ask you for the server database, then it will show you these two options, either import or direct query. So let's understand the difference. Import mode in Power BI copies the data into its own internal memory. So if you're using import, once you import it, whole data you are bringing in is stored in data BI in Power BI, just like this our data set that we brought in now. This data set now, this healthcare transaction, healthcare users stored in Power BI. But if you're using direct query, not stored. So what the import mode does is actually it makes reports very fast and it's highly interactive. You can interact with the data view tab, actually work like play with the data much more. and it's optimized for writing DAX calculations. Like I said, DAX means data analysis expression, the DAX. So you can write some calculations using DAX, just like write do functions. Think of functions in Excel, how you write your formulas and functions. Power BI, it is called DAX. Those expressions are called DAX. So with import mode, actually do that, but it's optimized for that. But in direct query mode, Power BI does not store data internally. What it does is that every time you interact with the report, sends a query back to the original database. So it's connected directly to the database. So this is useful when you're working with extremely large data sets, or you want it in real time, or you want and also want the data stored in the database. For example, now if I'm working in a company, we're working and they don't want you to have the data, the company's data on your Power BI. They want it to continue being in the database. Now have access to data on Power BI. Now have it stored in your Power BI. They'll give you direct access. So that direct access is that anything you are doing, it hits the database. You cannot get the data in like this where you get it here. So it's basically used for very large data sets. And when they don't want the data to leave the source database, then you need real time reporting, because once it's refreshed, once maybe user transactions are entering into the database, automatically your Power BI report is updating in real time. That's mostly why they use most of the reasons we use direct query. But for our course, we are going to stick with import mode because we want to be able to understand modeling, understand full DAX functionality, then how we can improve performance during learning. Okay, so that's what I just to what gotten it. So if we look at our transaction, our two files, our two tables that we brought in, which is a transaction users table. As a transaction, we have to review our data types and see if it's actually just an overview, just to see, okay, if we actually got the right thing. For example, transaction date is set to the format is date. Our cost is set to let's say decimal number, yeah, give it like that. Then our age, let's go to age, is it a number? This because we did it for addition, yeah, some kind of this is just want to make sure that the data sets are in the right format, just as an overview yet, not in Power Query, this time in the data tab. Their registration date is still in normal registration date. So these correct data types are critical for time intelligence and modeling. Don't get the right data types when you're doing your time intelligence or when you're doing your modeling in the modeling part, have some issues. There'll be some mismatch. You rest. So now that we've just seen our data, we can still go back. We didn't import it, if we didn't transform it before we came here, we can still go back and go to Power Transform Data, and it takes us to the Power Query Editor. This is where we do our data transformation. So we have done our getting of data, which is extraction. We have extracted data. We need to transform like I explained to us one time when we were learning Power Query. I told us it can do three things. It can extract data, transform data, and load data. Let's imagine we didn't load our data yet, just extracted it from the Excel, brought it to Power BI. This is the transformation phase now. In this transformation, we use Power Query Editor. And see this, we have opened Power Query Editor now by clicking or transform data. Took us to this. Look at it here, Power Query Editor. So now, what do we see here? Our queries are always on the left, which is our tables. Shows us query. If we wrote a query to database, show us here. This is just like where we got the data from. On the middle, data preview of the data. It always previews the first 1,000 rows. You can be able to look at it and clean it. Not doesn't bring out all the rows. It previews the first 1,000. Then on the right here, flight steps. So any data set you select from here, show you a preview and show you the steps that has been done to get data. like I explained, applied steps here, anything you do on the data will actually show here. So this is where we do our data cleaning, make sure that our data is formatted better enough for analysis. We soon entered into the other part. Yep. So from here, we have our user ID. You can see our user ID. Click on one part. The user ID is better off in text. So we can since it's user stable, we don't it's a single line per user. So each user should have one user ID. So if in case there was an error in when we were compiling the data, and there was kind of a duplicate, and this is where we remove duplicate. Move it by just right clicking and move duplicate. If there are any duplicate users, like one user had the same user ID with all the same information, definitely will be removed, because I mean we don't want two users or two user information like the same information from a particular user all through. So you can actually remove duplicates, which is the best thing. Just did my right click and remove duplicate. Now you can check the gender is text format, check our age, number format, check our city is actually properly named. Don't need to do we don't need to do our stream or proper. There's not much cleaning to do. Check our insurance type, check our insurance type with its text. Also, then another thing we can check. Can't see. Are you sure it's not your network? Can anybody see my screen? I think
Yeah, who can say it?
Philip, I think
Mr. Evans,
yeah.
can you show us an example of how to, let's say, trim in Power BI? Like if you should add a column and you would want to trim, is it the same process as in Excel,
Yeah, it's the
or this
same.
one has a
This
different?
is Power Query editor. It's the same Power Query editor. Somebody said I can't see. Ogunle Michael, you can't see my screen. It's the same thing that we did in, let's say, for example, like this. If you just right click it and go to transform, see this, you can capitalize each word, you
Mm.
can change all to
Yes,
uppercase, see, right?
yes.
If you right click on the column and do your trim, right click on the column and go to transform, do your capitalize each word, make it proper.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So that it's just very straight steps, just like in it's the same Power Query. That's why I was saying that if you understood Power Query in Excel, easier for you to understand Power BI. Because the query editor is the same thing, it's the same functionality. So I don't need those things. Just- okay. Okay. So where were we? So we have checked our city, check our insurance, check this. So our users table, this is it's confirmed that it's a date type. And with this now, we can show that our users table is kind of clean. If we needed to replace any values, maybe we wanted to replace mail with another thing, just right click, replace values. Click on replace values, type in what you want to replace, and replace it with next thing. Just straightforward that. So this for with your clean data, ensure clean clean modeling too. So you can go to the transaction table, and just look through it too. First of all, you check if the transaction date, make sure it, because it's very vital for analysis. On date, check if it's in date format. Yep. Then and also remove duplicates, because there are double transactions. If there are two transactions that have the same transaction ID on the transaction table, transaction ID should be unique, distinct. It should not repeat, because If someone comes to buy, somebody, maybe someone came for emergency today, has transaction ID T5000. Tomorrow, the person comes for surgery. That is a different transaction already, even if it's the same user. So it means one user can have 10 different transactions, depending on the kind of transaction. I just like a user going to get different things from a mall different times. Register that sales differently. So transaction ID always be unique. The user ID on the transaction table can actually from same user. One user can do 10 transactions. Don't know if you understand. Yep. So also you can also check the cost part, make sure that there is no negative. Times you can now we do have negative numbers. Check and make sure that your data is clean. You can check your month. Like I explained the other time, I really because I have my transaction date here. Okay for me. I don't need calendar to be year, month name. So I can select three of them, press my control, select three of them, and right click and remove columns. So I can just go to form side, move. So I can just go to home, move the columns here. Anyone works for you, do it because I don't need the section table. We need to create a calendar table to help us do analysis. Like I explained before, creating a calendar table when you are doing analysis, when you are doing analysis perfectly, what's obtainable, the best practice when you come to Power BI because it always help you analyze your data properly. So you can also create a derived column, like I said, if you want to add another column. Let's take, for example, want to separate the cost for high cost and low cost. So you can just select on here, then add column, add a column, additional column, and say if the is cost is greater than, let's use 1000 for example, 1000, then output high. Okay? Else, if the cost is lower than, less than 1000, then low. Just give those, click OK. Add a column for us that you can actually separate now and say, okay, our high, low customers, and change here, name it cost, cost category. That's just how to add a column. If we had maybe if it was, maybe it was a shipping data where we had a shipping date and our order date, and actually do a subtraction of the day. Say, okay, days to shipping, 3 days, put it in date, have data set like that. Practice it. Just telling us things that we can do in Power Query. Why Power Query matters. It helps us to clean our data, standardize our format, remove duplicates, create extra calculated columns and conditional columns like this. Then it helped us prepare our data for modeling. Done, you go to the home tab, you click your close and apply. Once you close and apply, everything you did there loaded into your main Power BI desktop now, and it will update the data just like things you've added Power Query. So that's for transforming our data. So we have extracted our data from Excel, transformed it, loaded it into Power BI now. Once you load it now, check just like we checked here, you can see our data. We can also come here. Now this is our data set. Click on the transaction part, see the story we added, see that we've removed those. So the next thing now go to is data modeling. Now what happens is that this modeling part We create relationships between the tables. What is data modeling? Data modeling is actually the process of organizing tables and defining relationships between them. How do these two tables we have now relate? Don't relate it, definitely we are going to have issues when analyzing our data. So instead of putting everything into one flat file, which we can actually do, I showed us how to merge um, two data sets. Please, just is there anybody that can see and run through it? How to merge, combine two data sets to become one, just like what we do with VLOOKUP and XLOOKUP in Excel, and join to these two data sets if they have a unique relationship. Power Query we can join them to become a flat file. But best practices, like I always say, in databases, when companies are putting information into databases, most times they always separate the user's information from the transaction information. So they always have one in their database. You always have a users table. You always have a transaction table. The users table now would store information about all the users, with the registered users or the users that have visited their platform. Store the user demographics, maybe the age, user ID, the unique user ID, maybe their names, if they're collecting their names, their age, their phone numbers, address, all those ones will be stored in the user table. No, it's very rare, it's unlikely that you see any company design database, put transaction and user table inside one part. Then the transactions will be specifically for transaction. If the company doesn't collect user information, they will not bother about it. Just collect only transaction data. If they collect users and transaction data, always keep it in two separate tables. Then, as a data analyst, when you're connecting to that database, you're bringing in user information, bringing transaction information. There will be a user ID that will link both tables together. So that's part of one of the how we start designing our models. Modeling means just creating relationship. So instead of putting all our user information, for example, in this transaction data now, instead of putting, okay, this transaction ID was done by this user, this date, by this in this department, by this transaction ID, we now start putting the address of the user, the age of the user, and other information. We separate those information, store it in another table, which is the users table, and we use the user ID to link both of them. So, like in professional Power BI development, we use something we call a star schema to do modeling. Modeling, we have the star schema, we have the snowflake, but basically, most times you maybe throughout all your use of Power BI for now, using star schema. What is the star schema? Star schema is one central facts table and surrounding dimensions table. I will explain fact and dimensions table, what it means. So what it does is that it looks like a star. When it comes to the modeling part here, talking about the modeling part here, we always have a fact table and dimension table. Am I the only one not seeing this? Who again is not seeing the screen? Who again is not seeing the screen? If you are, please, if you are seeing the screen, thumbs up, let me see. Yeah, I'm recording it. Okay. Okay. I think it's your network if you're not seeing the screen. Because I'm actually watching from another source. Yes. Okay. So we have this star schema, which is the fact. We have one facts table and one dimensions table. Now, how do you identify your facts table and your dimension table? Let's look at this data set. We have two tables now, which is the users table, transactions table. If you see, question is which one now is facts table, which one is the dimension table? This is how you know it. A facts table contains measurable values. Like I explained, fact table contains measurable values. It contains transactions. The transactions now can be, maybe it was if it was in a bank, users transaction. If it was in maybe a booking site, bookings transactions. If it was in a social media site, engagement transactions. So the activities of users, that's what we call transactions. And those they're actually measurable. And these value they actually contain values that can be measurable. So that's what we use to define facts table. It's always very large. It's always larger than the user's table, and it contains foreign keys. When I mean foreign key means keys from the user's table which were primary there. In the transition tables, they become foreign. Most times you can actually take some time and just write down these things. If I don't explain it elaborately, and just write it down, just check it on Google. What is this? What is that? So you get more understanding of it because I might not be able to explain it totally for you to understand. But just get the concept that you have a facts table, which is the transaction table, is a table of activities, engagement, or anything the user is doing, be it in your store, be it in your product, be it in your office, if the sales transactions or anything. So that's what the fact table contains. For example, in our health transactions, we can see that we have the cost here, which is measurable. We have the transaction dates, it records the events. That's just what it does. Records the events of what the user does. That's what the fact table does. And it will have a user ID, which is a foreign key. User ID is foreign key here, but on the user's table side is primary key. When it is a foreign key here, it means have multiple users, and you can have multiple transactions from one user. The user ID can repeat in this particular transaction table because the user can come today, can come tomorrow, maybe a customer can come today, can come tomorrow, can come next tomorrow. We'll still be recording the events the customer does. So all the events the customer does recorded in the facts table. Then the dimension table it describes the entities. It contains description of who the customer is. It talks about who the customer is. It describes, in this case, it describes the patient, their age, gender, the insurance type, and it contains a unique user ID because it has to be one patient has to have one record, like a register. That's what our dimension table is. Dimension table is just like a register. So if we had, for example, we had a staff table now. The staff table now is another dimension table because to contain staff ID, staff department, staff maybe when the staff was employed, other things. So that would have been another dimension table. If it was a product, we were talking about the product will have the product ID, the product cost of the product, yeah, maybe the sales, yeah, how much the product was bought, the product category, and all those things. But the transaction, which is the facts table, will always be about the events done by the user. I don't know if I explained it very well, like it transition much last week. So now we talk about creating relationships between these two tables. If you don't create relationship between these two tables, Power BI will see them as different tables. Let's imagine this. Sometimes it automatically creates relationship for us, but let's delete this and imagine it didn't create it for us because we always want to look at to confirm that that relationship right or wrong. So because Power BI will always default create a relationship for you from automatically. If it studies the file, the two things relate and create. If these files are just like this, now these two tables are totally different tables. They work differently. But for you to be able to analyze these two data together, for example, to check particular cost of product, which user actually did it, or with the city of the cost of a particular transaction, you have to relate it to use the city here, else it will not show you properly. So for here, we see both tables and we can drag, it's just a drag and drop. What do you want to do? We want to be able to connect these two tables using our user ID, which is the unique um, column between both of them. Just drag from here, put it here, put it on top, user ID. Once it comes, it will open up this box for you. This box now helps you to define your relationship. So you can confirm, when you select the table, the first table, this will select your first table, users table. Then select your second table, the two tables you want to join. second table, which is transaction table. Now, how do we want to combine this table to, how do we want to relate this table? We want to do it through user ID. So if user ID was not selected, you select the user ID here, select that one here. Now, once you have to understand, there are many different types of way you can connect tables. You can connect tables. For this, we have four different ways: many to one relationship, one to one relationship, one to many relationship, many to many relationship. Now, it's default on one to many relationship. Why? Because one user in the healthcare users can have different transactions in the transaction table. So that's why there is a one user to many transactions. So we have many transactions from a particular user, but each transaction belongs to only one user. So this transaction belongs to only one user. So we have a one to many relationship. Let's say, for example, it was interchange and we had not change, and we had our transactions on top. What is on the right will always come first. On what is on top will always come first. If we had a transaction on top and users on down, it will be a many to one relationship. It's just it can be one to many, many to one, depending on which one is on top. For example, if we are dragged, if we are dragged this from transaction and take it to user, what we just did is that we just interchange both of them. Down transaction is up, user is down. So it will definitely be many to one relationship because many transactions can happen to one user. It's just interchange. One to many and many to one are practically the same thing. So you don't get confused. But it depends on the one that's top and the one that's below. So we can actually save it. When we save that, let's leave our cross filtering in one single. Then this when we go further, when we are project. So that has helped us create a relationship between a table. What it just means is that we can use this user's table, slice this transaction table. So we can slice our cost by gender, by city, by insurance type, and it will give us a proper result. If we don't get this relationship, we cannot slice and it will give us correct result. It will give us a flat result, which is not correct. But since we have gotten it, Power BI now will look, okay, I have my cost. I want to filter it by gender. Because it's connected, to actually be able to do that correctly. So the next thing I wanted you talk to us about was having a date table. In professional modeling, we never rely on the date columns inside the fact table alone. Yes, you can say, okay, we have our date here. Let's use it and do our slicing by maybe check by month or use it to do our time analysis, trend analysis. It's in professional modeling, we never rely on this. What we do is that we create a dedicated date dimension table. Create a date dimension table. I would send the record once I'm done. I don't think I'll do any. Just send it. Wait. So you see it after. I don't know why you cannot see. Maybe it's your network that is actually stopping. Sorry about that. So what we do is that we create a date table. We create a date table that helps us to analyze our data. How do we create the date table? We go to a modeling, go to home, go to our modeling tab, then we click on new table. Click on new table. Once you click on new table, you can Power BI, we can add a new table if we have maybe a little data set you want to add to our data and create it using new a new table. Bring the new table in, create the relationship with other tables, and we use it for analysis. So now what do you want to do? We want to bring in our want to bring a date table into our Power BI. How do we do it? Let's call this a date table. Let's just call it date. So in a table, what happens? A table has columns. So in a proper table has rows and columns. What do we do? We use our add columns function. Use our add column function, select it, add columns. What do you want to create? I want to create a date table. So there's what we call a calendar function, because we want to generate a calendar. Power BI. We can use our calendar. A lot of people use calendar author. Calendar author can actually check your data sets, see the length of data, your data set in your facts table, and use it to create an automatic calendar for you. Yeah, but let's create a calendar ourselves by using a calendar table. From our calendar table now, it asks us, it will always ask you, what do you want? It returns the table with one column of all dates between start date and end date. Now you have to define your start date. For your start date, you have to call in the date function. Want a calendar, you want to call in the date function. Let's use 2020. Data is 2025. Tax us the year. Didn't do much. Tax us the month, January. Tax us day. Close it. Now it's put the command, the end date to bring in a date function. Date function. Then we have here. Let's use 2020. My text.
Mr. Amos, is this space sensitive? Because I realized that between the 2025 and the month, you left a space, or is irrelevant?
Yeah, it's actually not really. Just do it just to make it. This doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay. So now, and if I just enter this now, so that to create. Sorry, let me enter the month. Let me enter the month. See, we've not finished adding a column. So the argument. So we add a year. Let's just add one. Let's add the year. Like shifting down, have most. Then the column we want to add, it's asking us, this is our table. First thing, we add the columns. We have the table name, have the table which is calendar table. Then we have to first column now. Let's add a here. Please, you can mute if you're not talking. Please, you can mute. It doesn't affect our record. Okay, so we bring in our year. For here now, we call the type. This is the name of the column we want. Type a year. Bring in our year function. Then what year we're looking for. Year of our date. So put our date. Bring in our date table. Table we are creating. This date table. Calling the year out. I would spend time. That's the name of the first. Second column. Second column will need our month. Call it monthly month number. Month number will always help us when we are doing sorting. See it when we use it. Month number. Call our month. Looking for the month date. Bring in our date. So we put a comma. Next column, we need to bring in our name. Column, third column, let's use our font name. Font name. Bring in, format. How do you want it? JN in 3 letters. So we'll format it where we want to call in a function. Formatting our dates. Bring in our formatting our date. Show us how do you want it to show? This is the value. Format what value you want to format and how do you want to format it? Just three. Close it. Okay. If I didn't add this last bracket, Power BI will always look at it and correct it for me. Because yeah. So with this now, we have our date table. See by the right now, so our date table is go to our data tab. See, we have our date related to here. I always want this. So I'm not doing anything. Needed to use do any analysis time you can do. So that's how to create our date table. And for we to be able to use this date table to analyze our data, go to our model view. Now, model view now, see we now have the third table, date table. And since we want to slice, we want to be able to slice transactions, any of the dates here, we definitely need to create a connection in them. So we drag our date table, our dates, create to transaction dates to create a connection. It opens since date is only one date per day, not repeating, not repeating in date. So it always be a one. And since in transaction tables, you can have 10 transactions in one day. So there are multiple dates here. So that's why it's creating a one-to-many relation. Do we get it, please? It's a thumbs up if we get it.
A few steps back, sir. A few steps back.
I didn't get you.
If you could go a few steps back.
Okay. So what I did was that I created, you understood to when we created our dates table, right?
Yes.
When we create our dates table, it will looking at it when we go to the data tab where we data view or the table view where we actually look at data, we'll see what we created. We created we created our date calendar date, which is this. Then we now said, okay, we need the year. Brought in the year. This is how we name it. And this is what we want to bring in. So yeah, so we brought in the year of the date. Now we brought in the year, the month number, which it's always necessary to have it. See what we need it later. We brought in the month number, which is month date, the month of the date, and we created the month from this date. What is doing here is just extract the month from this date for us. Then from here to extract the month name. But this calendar table is not something that you can be creating every time. You can just create it once, copy it and keep it somewhere. Anytime you want to do analysis, create a calendar table, just copy it and paste. Go on, you go on with your understand. So that's what we
Yes,
did.
sir.
So once you do it like that, once you go to the modeling view, it will appear here. All your data sets that you have always appear in modeling view. So now what we want to do is that we might want to see how many transactions were done monthly. And we don't want to use our transaction date here. We will use this our month name here to slice how many transactions we had monthly. But for we to be able to do that, we need to create a relationship between these two tables. And how do we create that relationship? Is by just using a unique, what is unique, which is the date now. This date now and transaction date are unique. So when we click it now, we see that our dates table is up here and our transaction table is down here. So what happens is that it gives us a one-to-many relationship. Why? Because these dates are unique dates. You cannot have 2 days of the same day in 1 year. So they are just 1 day, 1 date per day. It's always single. But in the transaction table, you can have 10 transactions happen in 1 day. So the date will repeat here. So that's why it's having a one-to-many relationship. That's why we're having a one-to-many
Mr.
relationship.
Amos.
Yeah. So once you create like that, we still leave it
Mi-
at single. Cross filtering means this date will always filter. Want this one to filter this one, we'll leave it, we'll come to both. Let's not go down to there first. Leave that one for later. So once you've created this relationship, save it. Once you save it now, automatically, yeah, Mariam, say something.
Yeah, for the one to many relationship, is it automatically set or we can set it ourselves?
Yeah,
In cases where it is not even date, it is another data entirely.
yeah. So yeah, just like we did in users, health, and healthcare users and transaction. One thing is once you drag a relationship to another to create a relationship, Power BI will automatically suggest what it feels it should be. Not just what it feels it should be. It's for you to look and say, okay, is this what you actually want? That's when you actually you leave it. It always suggests that now it has seen that this date is unique and there are many dates here, so it defaults automatically to one to many relationship. If that's not what you wanted, you can actually set it to what you want. It will not give you what is not there. For example, it cannot give you a many to many relationship because it has already scanned the data, it has seen that only one date here, or one unique date here, many dates here. So it will always give you something default automatically. It's for you to set what you want. And you can only set what you want if your data set allows that. You understand?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So this is what I was explaining about a star relationship. Now you can see our facts table is in the center. This is a star schema. All our dimension table will just be going round and round it, kind of a star format. And because all of them are trying to filter these transactions. If we had maybe our staff table now, we connect it maybe to department or something or staff ID just to understand what the star schema did. So now we have our users table, which is dimension table. We have our dates table, which is a dimension table. We have our transaction table, which is a fact table. So this is a plain, simple star schema. Why is this star schema important? It helps for better performance, like I said. It helps us to get cleaner functions, like cleaner formulas, which we call DAX. It helps us to write cleaner DAX because if you don't have it connected, you'll be using a lot of using functions like related table. You'll be doing it'll be too much functions that you need to write just to create a connection. But since if you have a good model, it will reduce that. So it's simpler for filtering. Because of it's connected now, it's easier to filter and it helps for better scalability. If you want to scale, also always break your data, use it to form dimension, come and relate it easier, easier. So because if you put everything into this one big table, calculations become messy, data set becomes slower. So in professional business intelligence, we always separate facts table, dimensions table. So even if we had all the data, like I explained before, even if we had all the data in our transaction table, best use case is for us to divide it into users and transaction table, which is divided into facts dimension table in our Power Query. Actually break the data into two Power Query. So yeah, please say something.
So I'm not sure if I missed something during the extraction of the data. The healthcare data, was it divided initially into these two parts, the healthcare transaction and the healthcare user? Because I only saw one data that I saw that you extracted just one table.
So, you mean the one I sent, the data set I sent to you?
Yes.
The data set I sent, it was one data that has two sheets.
Okay.
The two sheets,
Okay.
once you load your data, like we said, once you go to get data and you select your data set, which is a workbook, this is data. Then you open it. Once you open it, it will show you if there were 10 sheets inside that data set, show you all the 10 sheets. Like this. It will see.
Okay, okay,
So you're the one that needs to select
okay, okay.
that you want and load it. For our case, we needed both of them. So we actually selected both of them and we unloaded it, or go to transform it. Understand?
Okay, when the model space is it is the model that will automatically determine the fact table and the dimension table.
You should know what your fact table is and what your dimension table is. Like I explained, your fact table contains
Yes,
your measures, your events, what the transactions by the users. Your dimension table
yes.
is for attributes of those users.
Okay, yes, yes,
Yeah. So you should know what your fact and the dimension
yes.
table is, because you should know how you want to run your analysis, because that's what guides you to building your model.
Okay,
If you
okay.
go to
So
advanced, like,
meaning that it is you that will determine
yeah,
what your fact table would be, not the model itself.
no, it's you that determines this your fact table, but it's always like almost same thing, because definitely your fact table will always be table of maybe sales or table of transaction or table of activities done by the user. And so it's you that would say, okay, this is I will know this is your fact tables, be able to use it to design your model. There are scenarios where, for example, where I'm working now, we have different products. We have one user table, and we have users that book hotel, they put it separately. We have users that book flights differently. And we have a car services. Yes, it's being recorded. And we have why are some people not seeing the screen? Maybe it's your network. And we have car services, which are totally different. So all these things, and we have only one user table. Now, in that particular data set, since I cannot do combination and I want to do the whole analysis, I have three fact tables. There's one that holds transactions of car services, one that holds transaction of hotel services, one that holds transaction of flight services. They were separated the way they were built, and I cannot combine both of them, because most times I analyze both of them, all of them separately. Most times I analyze all of them together. So now I have three fact tables. It's most times rare when you see those kind of things, except it's a very large company. But for this case, we have one fact table, two dimensions table. So you have to understand that. Always know that your fact tables is your what contains your events, your users' transactions, and all that. Then the other one is just details about the user, which is your mentions. You get.
Yes, sir. This is very clear. Thank you so much, sir.
And one thing you should note: the fact table will not automatically slice the dimension table, or the dimension table will not automatically slice the fact table if you don't create this relationship. If you don't create a proper relationship, you have wrong result. For example, let's this model now for us to test that the model is good, we go to our report view now. Let's want to create simple report and say, can go to users to see city here. Click on city. Let's click on city. Let's come chart. If you click on city, okay, use a table chart going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cities. Let's say I want to know cost per city. Now we have selected city from users table. We want to know the cost from this each of this city, and that is in our transaction table. Now click on the cost. Click on the cost now. Now we can see the sum of costs by cities. You can see, can you see this? Okay, now we have a sum of cost by total cost by cities. Now, why? Because you have created that relationship. Let's just do a quick test run. Let's say you don't have this relationship. Let's delete this relationship now. See what is going to happen. We don't have the relationship, then we do what we just did, what it will give us. Give us same cost throughout, which is not correct. Because we've not, that means you have not been, this is the total cost already. Total cost we have is 30. If we want to slice it by 60 now, it give us the same thing. Why? Because it has not seen any relationship that they could slice it by. So it just gives you the same, repeats the same thing totally. But if you go back now and relate that, let this table related to, let's relate this table to this table using a user ID. We have created a link in these two tables now. So it can be slice it, filter it, and slice it properly now. Change back. We understand. That's why modeling is actually one of the most important parts of Power BI. Okay. So we notice that when we filter by city, it filters the transactions by city. That is how star schema is designed to work. So the dimension table filters the facts table. Dimension table filters the facts table. So that's it. So one most common mistakes that people do is many to many relationship. It's if if you go to this relationship now, when you see the properties of a relationship, it's one many to one. Many to many relationships, unless it is very, very necessary, you always avoid this. Unless it's very, very, and there are rare cases where they are totally necessary for you to use many to many, because most times it gives some errors that you might not see. And so, secondly, the bidirectional, most times I use single because I'm trying to use the mention to filter transactions. For you, if you don't need to put in both if you really don't want to do the both way filtering. Most times throw you off analysis, don't know what you, and also always reduce the number of columns that you have. Some columns that you don't need to use, always reduce them, use them. And most times to always avoid to create relationships in that two dimensions table. Always avoid to create relationship except totally necessary and using it for specific purposes. But those are rare. All those things I mentioned are rare cases. Always try to keep it simple using dimensions to filter facts table. Most times, not the other way around. Always help you. So now we have a model built. Can analyze all our revenue. You can track monthly trends with this date. You can compare departments, how each department did. You can analyze maybe our cost per patient using a user ID here and cost ID here, cost here. You can actually build a lot of intelligence, um, time intelligence functions. Now, the next thing we are going to do is building our measures. We're going to go to we are going to go to DAX. And so, like I explained, what is DAX? DAX formula language designed to work. Let's this. So DAX DAX is a formula language used designed for working with relational to relate data. It allows you to aggregate data. It allows you to apply filters. It allows you to perform calculations across tables. Allows you to create business logic. Just like writing your formulas or writing your functions. That is data analysis expressions. So in Power BI, it's primarily used to create measures and calculated columns. We are going to focus on measures for now. We'll just chip in a bit on calculated columns. So we'll focus on measures because measures, number one, measures are dynamic. and they respond to filters. Filters. So the difference between calculated columns, both of them can actually give you the calculations you want, gives you the aggregates you want. But calculated columns and measures, let's understand difference briefly. So calculated columns is means row by row. What it means is that if in your data set now, let's say for example the data set, we want to add a column that tells how much each user did. Example, yeah, let's say how much want to add a column here. Okay, for each user, calculate his total expenses. We can do that by a calculated column. But what would we do? That would mean us just adding a column, an extra column to our data set. It increases the size of your data set because it does the calculation now row by row and add a column for us. Understand? And it will repeat it because user ID now we have to. Let's say we want to say, okay, let's add our in our users table. Let's add amounts, total transactions done by each user. Create a column and we add it here. Have it. I don't want to go through that now because we want to deal on measures. But then we now see, okay, each user. Yeah, we can have those rows of each user. We see total transactions they did, but it's not a good practice. A good practice is, why don't you just create the measure? Why don't you just create a measure for it, and that measure can be reusable. Calculated columns are row by row and they are stored in your data set. So it increases the size of the model. But the measure just calculated on the fly and measures response to filters and it's more efficient. So best approach in Power BI development professionally, prepare measures whenever possible, except it's kind of impossible or maybe impossible to create measure for what you are looking for. Then we can actually say, okay, let's do a calculated column. So now, enough talk. How do we create these measures? Let's see, for example, we have our data set now, our health transaction, healthcare users. We want to create a measure, like for example, let's say our total revenue. Want to know our total revenue. Can actually come here, select cost, select cost, and yeah, put it in, let's say, card. This is a card. This is where you select visuals. Put it in the card visual, and we see that our total revenue whole data set, which is the sum, can come here. Since we just drag it to the field. If you come down, if you click down here, can say can change it to sum, average, minimum, anyone you want. And you can check, you can select average, the average revenue. Select let's say count of it. There are 15 rows. Count how many revenue. So any aggregation we want here can do it. But now we look for sum. So this tells the sum of our total revenue. But now, anytime we want to use this now, we need to be putting this sum of cost. Let's say want to filter it by what we did before by city. Want to filter it by city, we change it to, let's say, column chart. Then we filter it by drag city to x axis. Have this. Now, this now has given us a sum of cost by city. But it means anytime we want to do this, we have to be bringing a sum of cost every time. Why don't we just create a measure and call it total revenue and actually use it all through our data? How do we do it? We go to, for best practice, what I like to do is that I like to create a different table for all my measures so that I know where they are stored. How do I do that? I just go to enter data, in the home tab, click my enter data. I just create an empty table, and call it measures. Then load it. Don't need to do anything on the table, just an empty table. Here, data to appear in my data tab. So that's where I want to store all my measures. This is what I do personally. So because I want to remember where the measures are, so it doesn't get lost inside assets if there are too many columns. So I can come here now. If I come here now, I want to add a new measure. Come to the measure part. Come to the measure part. I right click on it. Then I click on new measure. Once you click on new measure, it's going to open up a formula bar for you. Be able to write the measure that you want. For the measure that I want now, what do I want to calculate? Once you want, listen, once you finish loading your data, playing your data, doing your modeling, the next thing you do, writing your measures, like getting your measures and your aggregate, because that's what will help you build your visuals. So your measures for your measure now, what I need is total revenue. How do I need total revenue? I need total revenue. How do I get my total revenue? Just like in Excel, we use the sum function. I can actually use Power BI also has a sum function. I bring in my sum function. Sum function. What do I want to sum? It will show you all the columns I have. I want to sum. This is finish. Actually click on go back and so asking me what do you want to sum? I want to sum my costs. So it has shown me the column healthcare transactions 25, the cost. I can click on it. Once I click on it, close my bracket, and I click enter. Now I've created a measure called total revenue. Now instead of me now to bring in this year, I can actually, let's say I want to create a card. I can bring a card visual, click on the card visual, it will appear here. Then I drag in my total revenue into the field. It is the same thing. Now I've created this measure. I can use this measure to build other formulas. I can use this particular measure to build other measures by just calling in total revenue anytime I want it. And I can and if I slice it, if I slice it now, like let's say by by gender, slice it by city, going to give me the same thing. Change it to this. So you can see it's the same thing what we had here. That the difference is that if we didn't create it, we can still put it a y-axis, give us the same thing, but we cannot reuse it. Say once we go far, I'm going to show you where we will use the measures, which is the best practice to create your measure. So now we have created one measure, which is our total revenue. Total revenue. Now you can see the total healthcare revenue for 2025. Change it. And we have seen our total revenue 2025 in our healthcare. So this is our first KPI now. Okay, this is our first KPI. This is our first KPI now. So now the next KPI I might want to create is total. Is our total revenue now. How many patients did we have? How many patients do we have? What happened if we check on our data set? Go to the healthcare users. How many percent? This is just the record of our patients, but how many of them did transactions? Be on the trans because a patient can be on the users can register, didn't come for any emergency or didn't come for any hospital treatment. Might just go register with the healthcare center that has not come for any. So the patient has not done any transaction. But now I want to understand how many patients did transaction in 2025. Go to the transaction table now. If we come here now, on our transaction table, we have 15,000 rows, but we know that definitely the users can repeat. So we can actually create a measure to know measure low. So we can check to know, we can create a measure to count how many users actually did transaction. So how do we do it? Go down to my go down go down to my measures, right click it, and create a new measure. What measure do I want to create? I want to count how many patients we really had. What do I use? Since we are looking for total patients equal to, so we want to count this thing. So we have a distinct count function in Power BI. So I can bring in distinct count here. Distinct count does what? Click on it. It counts the number of distinct values in a column. Let distinct count. What are we counting? Counting patient user ID. Click on it. Just that we select the column, close the bracket, and click enter. Now we have a measure for our total patients. And can copy this. Let's copy this now. Then instead of in our field place, change it to total patient. Put it in there. See that we have 1,000. Actually did 1,000 that actually did him for. And now we use distinct count because one patient can have multiple transactions. So this distinct count ensures that we count each percent only once. That's our second KPI. So I can just keep this one here. Yep. So next thing we want to do is, I talked about that when I was explaining that when you want to create a visual, let's add visual, bring in a visual. Yeah, please, Alfred, say something.
Oh, okay, please. When I did mine was showing 1K instead of the 1,000.
Okay. Yeah. So
So how do I change it to?
okay, so that's where you actually do your formatting. You click on it, you come down here. I've not entered formatting your visuals yet. You go to formatting part. Yeah, it's going to show you,
Uh,
yeah, the call out value on this big one. Then the category label is this patient. You can actually change it from here. From here. See display units.
yes.
You can change it to how you want it. If I put it in thousands, it's going to show 1K. If I put it in auto, it's going to show put it in none. Depending on how. So this is where you format, work on your visuals.
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll get to that. We'll elaborate on that. So if we click on, I'm brought in an empty card now. Brought in an empty card visual. Let's bring in that sum of cost again. Select this. This was here is showing us automatically sum, and change it to average. It shows the average transaction. But this now, I want to create this now as a measure that can be reusable, that can be sliced differently. So instead of us making it like this, we can actually create a measure with it. Go to our measures, click on right, select new measure. So now we're looking for average cost per visit. Average cost per visit. And we have the average function. We have the average function. Bring it in. What are we looking for? Average transaction cost. So we select it, close it, enter. Now we have our measure for average cost. Bring in a new card visual, drag that, you can see it gives us the same. Don't need this one. So we have our average cost as the third measure we have. So we also have the divide function. So we are the way these functions are, maybe these measures are, we will write it with data, the DAX, which is data analysis expression. It's just like writing your formulas in Excel. So now well, let's say we want to calculate how much revenue we make per patient. How much revenue do we make per patient? I'll actually do that using our DAX to write the measure. What do we do? Click on new measure. Now this is where it gets beautiful. Why? Because instead of, now we can say, let's say revenue per patient. In our basic maths, how do we find the revenue per patient? It's dividing the total revenue by number of patients, right? Please give me a thumbs up if you understand me. Yeah, that's how we get our revenue per patient. But now we have our total revenue as a measure, and we have our total patients as a measure. What we need to do is just bring in the divide function. You can do it in different ways. First of all, let's do it this way. We can just say total revenue we have created. Now see, that measure now is here, so it's reusable now. And click on total revenue and click divided by total patients. Click enter, and we have a measure. Just by, because we created these measures and kept, you can use it to do any other. That's why I say it's reusable. But if we didn't do it now, we're using the other way we did, we'd have to go and start putting it in a table and looking at how to maneuver it. But with this, it's very easy. Now, if we bring an empty card visual now, we can have a revenue per patient now. Just click on it. It shows us, which is 37.97K. This is just this divided by this. You have a revenue per patient. But one thing I always advise, it's advisable not to use this division because of division by zero. Always can always throw an error if it was zero. And the divide function helps that. So instead of we using this slash, which is still correct, but it can run into error, even if it's anything divided by zero will always give a division error. So we use our divide function. Our divide function helps us to escape that division by zero. So we use it, but we still bring in the measure. Now we bring in total revenue. That's just our numerator. Then that's also our denominator, which is our down. What are we dividing it by? Total patients. Total patients. Then we close the brackets. Doing this now, if you click enter, this was the same thing. Do the same thing. It does not change. It gives us 7.9. But this now, if it runs into any zero denominator, bypass it, it gives us value that is good, the good answer. So while we are using the divide instead of the slash, that divide handles division by zero errors safely. It's just like using the if error. So always use the divide function in professional result, but avoid the slash most times, every time in short. So the other thing is that these are just basic measures we have created, which you can actually use as KPIs in our analysis. Then the next thing is very important concept, which is the filter context. What is the filter context? Filter context is very important because measures are affected by filter context. For example, let's add a slicer now. Let's say we add a slicer for city. Come here, if you come to your visuals, you can see you have a slicer visual here. This visual is called slicer. Click on slicer, click on it, it's going to open a slicer visual. What do you want to slice it by? City. Let's bring in city to this slide. Bring it in, going to show us different kinds of things that are there. This slicer now, you can actually format it, change how it looks like. With this now, if I select Birmingham, going to slice all our data. Birmingham. If I select Leeds, going to slice all our data. Leeds. If I select Liverpool, going to slice all our data to Liverpool. If I double click it again, it's going to go back because I've not selected anything. I can change this slicer how I want it in slicer settings in math parts. Set slicer vertical, I can set it as a tile, as a tile. I can select. I can set it drop down. You can just have it drop down, select it. So anybody who looks at it. So this let's add another slicer. Let's copy. Let's add another slicer. Let's say for department. Just give me a minute, guys. Hello, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, wow. I can imagine. Hi. Wow. Okay, please confirm you can hear me. Okay, so now what I did was I duplicated this, I copied and pasted. Now for this other slicer, let's use department. Hmm, Let's use department. Okay, so select, let's say Birmingham, and you check in departments. It's going to show you the departments. For example, if there were no if there were no some of the departments were not there in Birmingham, to not show. Let's see. I don't know. I think call it. But what I'm trying to explain is that because of the the measures, the measures, the revenue changes when we change it to different city. Patients changes, the average cost changes, revenue everything changes. That's filter context action. That's what filter context. That's how we filter our data. So what the DAX does that, what the measures does now is that it recalculates the measure based on the selected filter. So anytime you hear of filter context in Power BI, that's just simple explanation. It's not that, because most times people use big terms just to try and make people who are not tech savvy or technically inclined to confuse. So once you get filter context, just how these filters are being recalculated, the measures are being calculated based on what the filter is by. Just that. Just that. Just want us to understand the terms, because if you are doing
Kevin,
interviews too, maybe you're talking to a hiring manager that is maybe head of data, some terms that you can use can actually make you understand that, you know what you're talking about. Most times they just want those terminology. So for this is for the measures now. But then we also have a function which is one of the most powerful function.
Lemon,
Yes, sir.
please, how did you display this slider button on the screen?
The slicer.
Yes,
So
yes,
you go to fill your visuals. If you check, you will see a slicer visual. Can you see?
yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
So I just click on the slicer visual. Once you click on it, it's going to bring in anything you click on, always bring in the visual in your visual board, place. So once it brings it in, now it's empty. It's asking you to select the field you want to add there. Any visual you bring in, we always ask you to select the field. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now the field I want, if it's city, I select the city, bring in the city. Then I can actually go to format and select how I want it to show me. want it to show me as a tile, or want it to show as a drop down one.
Thank
But
you.
you get it.
Yes, yes, I get it now.
So, so that's it for that. So I was talking about a particular function that is very powerful, Power BI, which is the calculate function. One of the most powerful functions in DAX because it allows you to modify different contexts. Let's say we want to calculate. Now we have revenue. We have revenue. Let's say we have total revenue. But we want to get total revenue for only, let's say, only emergency departments. Only emergency departments. Can do this using a slicer, right? By going to departments and selecting not emergency is not department, insurance type. Sorry, let's change chronic condition. Where did the Okay, transaction type. Let's say, for example, have a slide emergency. After case of emergency. But let's say I just wanted to display it without using a slicer. I just wanted to some type by emergency as a KPI somewhere. I can use a calculate function get to modify the filter context. And use modify the filter context now. What do I do? Let's say I do new measure. In my measure now, what I need is emergency revenue. Just emergency revenue. I just want to put maybe boss says he just wants to see revenue for different revenues as KPI on top. Don't want to use slicer. They are for different. Let's say you want to see emergency revenue, another revenue. You want four of them to be on top. Sometimes they ask for that. So we want to put this one, go and slice it, do this one. You can actually choose only this one. Yeah, let me explain. You can actually choose only this total revenue. Yeah, go to filters. Filters. Now I've selected only this one. I can go to filters and add what I want to filter it by. It's just for me to drag maybe a transaction type, drag it, filter, add it here, then filter it by emergency. Let's remove. So you can see that every other thing change. But this one now, this particular visual now, I've filtered it separately. I just selected it alone, added a filter. So you can actually filter each visual by adding what you want to filter it by on the filter page. Now it has given us 5 point. If I uncheck this emergency now, give me the total. If I can filter it here too, instead of a slicer, I can filter it here too, and it's just for that visual. I can also filter the whole page. So we have filter on visual, we have filter on page. If I'm to filter the whole page now, I can filter whole page. I say the month, I just want this page to report only about a month. Go to the date, bring in month's name, bring in the month's name, filter here. So the whole page now, I can decide to, okay, I just want to see this page to report only April. Whole page now will change to April. This filter on page, it also works like bringing in a slicer. You can anyhow you want to do it. You can bring a slicer and select only April, or you can say, okay, this whole page, let us just talk about only April data. Let it so you can filter a visual, you can filter a page, or you can add a slicer. There are like 4 or 5 ways. Number one, you can filter it by the visual, which is adding the data type here, move it, adding the field you want to filter it. You can filter the whole page, which is adding the filter on this page here and selecting it and just leave it there. And you can also add a slicer. Add a slicer, filter it by that slicer and leave it there. Your user can also use the slicer too. Or you can actually write a DAX just to bring in only what you want. Understand? So that's where you use the calculate function, which I'm trying to explain. So I think I started it. Emergency revenue. Okay, this is where I stopped. I want to click it back. So what do I want to do? I'll use the calculate function now, which I said is one of the most powerful functions because you use it to do a lot of filter context using DAX. I calculate now what expression would do I want to do. Let's say I want to see my total revenue. Total revenue. Bring back my first measure I wrote. Total revenue. Now you can see the calculate function now asks you, do you want to filter inside this function? Yes, so I've written my expression now is total revenue. I put a comma. Ask me, what do I want to filter by now? First of all, you have to select table you want to filter. What table do I want to filter from? Transaction table. Transaction table, which is a healthcare transaction 2025. But in that, what do I want to filter? I want to filter the transaction type. If I click on transactions, I want to generate my transaction table. And what do I want to filter? It's my transaction type here. Select my transaction type. I want to filter my total revenue by the transaction type. And what do I want to get? I want to get only emergency, where transaction type is only emergency. Imagine what you are typing here must be what is inside column emergency. And I close it. If I click enter now, I've written a revenue just to get emergency revenue. What I did, I looked for the expression I wanted. I want the total revenue, then I want the column with emergency, which is my emergency revenue. Now it is here now. If I go down here, and click a card, I bring in a card visual, and I bring down my emergency revenue into this, it'll be 7.59. What we get. Now, if we go back to type now, and we filter it by emergency, we have 7.59. Same thing here. This one now used DAX, write it using the calculate function. You can use the calculate function to do a lot of filter context. Anything you want to filter, please, if you understand, let me get a thumbs up. If you don't understand, I can go over it again. Or perhaps you can watch it later again. Can you still hear me? Okay. Okay, that's fine. So that's how we use our calculate function with our filter context. Done. So for other things I can show us so we don't get is using variables. In Power BI and in DAX, you can use variables to improve performance and how we read our 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 formulas, our functions, our DAX. So what does variables mean? Variable means you can actually set something to become something and use it to calculate. For example, now there's how we can rewrite our revenue per patient. Now we had a revenue per patient here. Now we have a revenue per patient here to be this. We have our revenue per patient to be this. And how did we get this? Once you click on it, it's going to show you what is selected. If you can click on it, select it here, see the formula actually brought us. let's say wanted to use variables for this instead of using, right? You can actually use variables, right? The variables, like you assign variables to some particular things, use it to return what we want. For example, let's say we didn't have had a total revenue. Let's say we say create new measure, create new measure, and we do, and we still wait. Well, let's say we wanted to rewrite our revenue per patient, since we have it already. Let's put it. Okay. Now we can say let's use variables for it. How do we do that? Deliver, we call a variable function, var, variable function, assigning variable that we use to calculate something. Let's say a variable one is total rev. Total rev. We have decided that what do you want the variable be? Let's say equal to total revenue now. Total revenue. So we enter, we shift, we enter a variable two, total patients, tab equals to total patient. Now, anywhere we see total rev inside this formula means it's total revenue because we assigned it to it. It's total revenue we are talking to. So now, since we have this thing, since we have created that variable, now these variables are used if you just want to write one long formula and you don't want to write different measures. You can write all of them inside here and return what you want to return based on what you have there. I will explain it better. Let me finish writing it. So then you can actually say, okay, with these variables now we have created, return, bring the return function. What do we want to return? Okay, what do we want to return? Want to return divide, which is the same thing we did. Just I'm just showing how to use variables, not do this wrong way. Wrong. Yes. Now we want to divide. Our numerator is what? Our total rev, which is a variable. Yeah, Alfred, yeah.
Please, how do you come? Like you do it one, two, three. How do you come down?
No, I don't count. And okay, I just do a shift enter.
Shift and enter.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I do enter, then it just tell me the synthesis is incorrect.
Yeah, if you click enter, it means it's telling Power BI that you have finished what you want to write and you're clicking enter. Sorry, I didn't explain it.
Oh,
So yeah, you shift enter when you want to go to the next line. Why I'm going to the next line is that I want my expressions to be clear, easily understood. I want the syntax to be clear. So now,
okay.
yeah, now I'm bringing in my total ref now, which is the variable, the variable I did. Total ref now. It's coming out my total ref now. So if once I call it now, it knows that it's total revenue I'm in. So I can do comma divided by my total part. Total part. It will return that this is what I want it to return. So now my DAX now is returning this. So if I click enter now, it has given me my revenue per patient too. If I select card visual, then put my revenue per patient two, it's going to give me, drag it down, it's going to give me the same thing, revenue per patient. So what I just did, so that let me explain it without using this. What I just did is that, let's say for example, wanted to do cost times 10. Like the variable cost, let's say T cost, for example, equals to 10. Then total cost, total revenue equals to, I bring in my total revenue. So my 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 I want to return the cost times 10. Understand? I want to return the cost times 10 now. I return um so T cost, this can help with understanding, times total revenue times total ref. So now see what I did. My T cost now is 10. Just assign it to be anyway, see T cost, know that it's 10. Then multiply it by total revenue. If I enter now, you can see that what it gave to me. So now if this was, let's say I just wanted to find revenue, revenue times 10, it's just what I wanted to find. So I can bring in anything. Maybe I wanted to define a lot of things. I can define some variables and use it to create formulas and add measures that I had. Even if I didn't want to use it to do anything, let's say I just wanted to set any formula that I wanted. Let me call my total ref is 1000. Now I've defined the variables now. Let's say it has nothing to do with the data. So it's just going to check 10, 1000, give me the value. So this is how we use it. We use variables to bring in assign variables to measures and use it to actually bring in anything we want. This variable too, you can design it. Okay, let my variable be from this date to this date. Or let's say let my variable be today's date. Today's date. Then you come here, call a function a function, a function. Then you use it to return maybe today. So anywhere you see a, going to recall that today's date. I will return today's date. So anywhere you see this date, so you can use it to call date. You can use it to call a particular time and just use it to do your calculations. That's what just using variables for. So it makes complex formulas to be cleaner and easier to debug. Instead of you to write long formula, you can actually assign them as variables, write a short one, put it as variable, then you use it to do your calculations down. That's just what I need to explain variables. So with this now, once you get data sets, we have been able to do from getting the data set, drawing the data set, loading the data set, transforming the data set, building our models, and writing some quick KPIs. We have written total revenue, total patient, average cost per visit, yeah, revenue per patient, and you can add a slicer. You can add a slicer for year two. You have only 1 year. You can add slicer for months. You can add slicer for department. Added slicers. You can see how to add our slicers. Yeah, those that with that we've already finished our analysis. The next thing now is how to present it for stakeholders. All these parts we did our technical. There are a lot of functions in Power BI. Yeah, I cannot teach all the functions. It's just if once you what as you keep doing things, you get to understand many functions like especially time series functions like year to date, like same period last year. All those functions are there. You can actually look at how to use it and bring them in while you're running your analysis. And so with this now, the next thing we can do is actually building a simple um, visualization for our bosses. Now what most of these data challenges that you see online, they just give you data set and say analyze. It's your ability now because it helps you. In industries, they might tell you what to do. Okay, this is what we need. The stakeholders will tell you the requirements. But how to build that is you yourself being able to look at data to be able to find what this data is talking about, analyze it, see how you can make informed decisions. It so we'll just use the next 30 minutes because I want to close. Like the next by 10:30 we should close. The next 25 minutes just to build a simple dashboard with all these things we have done so that it makes sense for us. If you're with me, give me a thumbs up, please. Okay, so we've understood that we've brought in our data. Okay, we understood, brought in our data, loaded our data, created the date table which we created, which is necessary. How we created it. We've done our relationships in our model. On the measures, we don't need to. We've done our star schema relationship, connecting our dimensions to our facts tables. Yes, we've what we can do also. What we can do also. Let me show you something. If we do, let's say we want to build while we are building it, I'll show us, how we can sort properly. Then we have built our measures, our revenue measures, our transaction measures, our patients, revenue per patient, yeah, and emergency rate. So now we can actually lay out our report table. To design a report table, just normal, all gymnastics. For me personally, I just like going down here. This is our canvas. This is called our canvas. Page information, I don't need to change. This is page. All here, overview page. Bottom here, overview. So please, if you are doing your own, I will beg you, don't design the same thing I'm designing. I'm doing it for training purpose. Use your own, use your own design, like do it differently. So that if you are posting it, it doesn't look like everybody's doing exactly the same thing. Let it not be a copy and paste. By now, we have built dashboards in Excel, about 2 or 3 dashboards. You can understand how to do this design so that it looks unique to you. I explained to us your use of colors too should be very, very unique. I explained to us you can go to colors.com, select a color template, or look at other people's dashboard, look at the color, just build something that is appealing to the eyes. You don't need to use many colors. 2 colors are okay. Colors are okay. Maximum 3 colors. Maximum 3 colors. So just build something that is appealing to you. Please let it be somebody sees it and knows it, and structure it properly. I will just run through my own very fast, very fast. So for me now, what I can just do, just like coming to my vision place, go down here, go to my canvas. I like setting 15.9 is okay. For me, I like putting it in the middle, what I'm doing. Then my canvas background, just say color, canvas background, lights, use NC, Ali. Okay. For me, I'm okay with this. Okay with this. So the first thing I can do is I can call this is healthcare set. Go to insert, set my shapes, click on this, click on the shape. It goes, I do that, select the shape, size it, and go to format of the shape. Going to show this is where you format your shape. And go to the shape, rectangle, no rounded corner. Go to the style, change the color to the color I want. You can see the fill color here. Play with these colors, go to more colors and select the color I want. Yep, okay with that. For my heading, try to set text box, set my text box, shape it, size it, and hold here, reach, alt, Click on it, select it, paste the form. Oh, just select on it, select on it, go to the effects. Don't want the background. If I need a logo, go to insert logo, image. Just to show. So I can change the font of the going to so yeah, just say I'm okay with this. Or have okay. You guys are with me, yeah? Okay. Take the text box and send backward. Okay. Okay, I don't want of border. So yeah, already I've gotten my this thing. So I can just bring in my KPIs now. Any I want to bring it in. So I can use a card visual. So basically, let me use this card new. Bring in this card new visual, card visual. What do I want to bring? Total revenue measures. I can bring in my total revenue, bring in my total patient, bring in my average cost per patient, in my revenue. Brought in four things. Actually, Okay, I can bring this layout. Maximum cuts. You see, it's showing 3 here because the maximum cut shown. So this is where you do your formatting of your visuals. So I can do, I want it in a single row. Maximum cut shows, I can increase it to 4, so 4 of them. Then spaces between cards, I can either reduce and shape, change the shape, turn on corners and make it rounded corners. Okay, now the top right and actually do your editing of visuals. I can give it a background. Let's say I want to give a background to this. Turn on the back. Select a color. I select this for the border. So this is just how you work on these. For the cards, and if you go down here, you see cards, and click on the cards, then I can actually work on all of them together. I can select each of them, work on. Can actually select all of them. Shape is rectangle, and the rectangle. This is for the cards now inside. Right. For the background, let me see. Cards now. Then the background. Let's change the cards. Yep, it's fine by me. Then can add image to the background too if I want to. Then I can change the go to font, go to that's the layout, go to the colored values. Which are these values? Colored values. Apply settings to Sergio 5. I can and category values. These top ones are the category values. Go to my or reference labels in this case. Reference labels. Select all of them. That's thing it. Give it like it's use for the values. For the labels, you can, okay, works for me for now. Yep. So those are my KPIs I want. So I can do some other things. Yep, I can maybe bring in another chart. Say I want to know my revenue trend, monthly revenue. Right? Okay, let me bring in nine charts. Just simple ones. You bring it in, select it, you bring it in, adjust it how you want, size you want. Line chart has axis, the X and Y axis. You can decide to do. Then the X axis, need our table, our dates, month name, X axis. Values, bring it in our Y axis, total revenue, total revenue. So see total here. This is what I wanted to explain. Now we have our total revenue month name. Now you can see that it's showing December, March, August regularly. And can decide to sort the axis month name. Now we sort by total revenue sending. You right click on these three dots, see the sort axis, and sort it by what you want. You want it from January, February, March. So we sort it by month name. Want the month name sending. Sending. Now you see what it has done. It's default now to sorting it by August, because it's A, for D, for F. That's what it's default to. That's why I created this month number. This month number. That's why we created this month number. Because this month number will actually help us sort. Now, how do we sort it now? We use a sort by. We come to this month name, we want to sort this a month name. We want to sort it by the month number, which month comes first, second, third. So when you go, we see our sort by column here. In our column tools, come to our sort by column, you click on it, sort this month name by month number. So what Power BI do like to sort it by the number, which number of the month. If January is 1, February is 2. We go back to our visual now, to our visual tab now. See that automatically it has sorted now, January, February. Because sort this month name now, month number. Do we understand? Please, you don't have to stay in this class till it ends. Just want to finish creating this dashboard so that when I'm putting the data, the recording, show where what we did. I don't think we might have time again. Go on. Now, this is a total revenue by. Also, and push it down. And also work on this. How do we work on that? We go to our format tab, our x-axis. We have our values. We want the values. Keep the values on. We don't want the title, month name. Already know it. Just turn it off. We don't want this title, revenue. Go to the y-axis. This is the y-axis. Go there. We turn down. We turn up. So just leave it. Is then we don't want some lines, these grid lines. Turn it off. Enter grid line. Shows me something that is fine by me. For this line, go to lines. If you go and see lines, color line I want, color line, solid line, underline, two tick. I can reduce it from 3 down here. I can make the line either smooth or anyhow I want it. Let me leave it. Then also we go down on still on formatting bar. I can see data labels. Add data label. Want to add the data labels. You can actually format it. This is not too much. Data labels. This data labels option. Just click change. Turn to on top. Go. Set it. Then we can see the values. Values. Use it. Something. Then we can do the number of units, place. Just leave it. So all of them will basically. Yep. So we can leave that one. We can decide not to put it at all. Times somebody hovers on it, going to see the value by just decide. And change anything you want to do and you don't know where to find it. You can actually search here. For example, you want to change the color. You can see color. Now we see a marker's color, not highlighted. Our data labels don't have it. Looking for the line color. This is the lines. Now we can see color in lines. Select the color and our markers are off. I can put in markers. So color of the marker, hide the color of my marker to be there. Color, border of the marker, I can try to use the size. All these ones are just how you can really. Then for these values to also work on the values on the x values, have your values here, right? Then on the title too, when you go to general, you're going to see title. Title is on now. What is the title? Revenue by the revenue. Revenue by month. Yeah, I can put the title. I can also put a subtitle. A subtitle too. I can turn on subtitle and say, put it here. This this shows us shows us revenue by for 2020. Just add that. Okay. Then I can also want to say, okay, let's play a bit. I'm not going to do the rest in the other visuals. I'm just showing using one visual to show you a lot of all the things you can do. Other visuals I'm just into. Yeah. So you can do the plot background and decide you don't want the plot background, you don't want color, you don't want it. And add a picture to the background. That's what I mean. A picture to the back. So I think basically what have I not thought? Okay, you can see the effects too. If you go to general, you can see the effects and put the background color too. Want it lighter, the color, right to any color you decide. Want to leave it transparent, leave it where you want to turn off the turn off the vision. Add a shadow. Yep. So anyhow I want to do it. Actually, then my visual it's what I want. And this is my revenue by month. So the next thing I can actually do, perhaps do revenue by department. Revenue by department, I can just copy this. Get my department. Instead of when I have my revenue already here, move months, move months from the x-axis, bring in my department. Many by departments, but not the visual I'm going to, and change it to a column chart. Yep, change the column chart, or can change it to a bar chart. Anyone you want, like a bar chart. Go to my go to my, I'll go to my title, revenue, subtitle, right? Revenue, department, 2020. I can look at here. Is the columns color I want to change? I can either click on search columns, search color, search color. Going to show us the bar. Sorry, is the bar. Everything about color is going to come out. What I'm looking for, bars. See the color for the bars now. Change it. Yep. Then I can also, don't remember where data labels is. I can shout labels. Data labels now. Turn it on. I turn it on. On the data label. There. And that is, I don't want this down here. Really, go to my y-axis. Turn off the x-axis. X-axis. Why? My y-axis and turn off the. No. Go to my x-axis. Do we get it up to this point? Okay. So now I can decide to say transaction, maybe maybe transaction type, total transactions by transaction type. Did we create total transactions? How many transactions? Okay, let's go and create total transactions. We know we have 10,000 transactions. Actually create a measure here. Right click, new measure, and bring in total transactions. We know we have 15,000 transactions. Let's just create a measure for it because we need to slice. We need it count. Isn't a count now because we are counting how many transactions we. So we count our transaction ID. Counting our transaction ID. How many transactions we had. That's our total transactions. So now I want to do total transactions by the transaction type. Total transaction by the transaction type. Use that. You can say let's copy, paste. Okay. What you need is not revenue again. Total transaction x-axis. Move at total. Then we do it by transaction type. We have now a total transaction type. Type. We go to our title. Have what you have here is transaction type. Type transactions type. Go to our sub. This shows number of okay, and do this. Change the visual of this, not visual. Yeah, change the visual and it to be of a lot of things. So this is looking like this. First of all, labels, donuts, on to form. Work on the slices, so slices, all of the slices. Change each color we want to color one, leave it like that. Then we also come to the data labels outside. What we want it to just let's show the percentage. Let's make this percentage. Let's remove it. Almost the same thing. Say we want to do a value. Let's just leave it like. Then for the legend, have a legend here. Legend is on. Turn it off. Definitely put the legend top center. Too big. Move the label title. Use text. Okay, so now we've gotten some few things, a few things like few visuals that you can actually use to demonstrate some insights, use to get insight. But next, for you to add your slicers, you can decide to say, okay, I want them to be able to slice this thing. I want them to be able to slice it by city. Let's see. Then what we need is a drop down. Go to our formatting. Just remember we will format. Go format slicer settings. Change this to drop down. Copy the yeah, and I can decide to do another one like that. The copy had here would have changed it to what I need. Font name. Yeah, find your own in your own way, please. Yeah, I can actually edit this, mark this for my values. I need it to be it's yep, that's yep. So if somebody can actually come here, select, then for here, and I've gotten the seat. Change this one. Department. Change this one. Insurance type. I want them to buy. I want my users to be able to buy. Actually help them. Eh? Let 3 of them. Value. Value background. Yep. Then header. Header. Header background. Text. Yep. Good with this. Then try again. Header. 10. Yep. That's fine. But so yeah, I can decide to give it border. So that's correct. I to give it a border, that color. Okay, that's fine by me. So with this now, I've gotten my my mini dashboard. You will create what I want you guys to do is analyze the data. Every insight you can get from that data, get it. Every insight, at least on a minimum 3 pages. Now, how do I add another page to this? Now, say I wanted to add another. This is my overview page now. I can do my click and go down here, down of the page, duplicate it. If I duplicate it now, I have my duplicate of overview. I can change this to analysis. Let me just say I use analysis. Analysis. We'll soon be ending, guys. Please just give me like next 10 minutes. I have my analysis page. This is my overview page. Done. So on my analysis page now, let's say I still keep my top KPIs, but for these ones, actually don't other visuals that I'm getting. Let's say metric. I change this. Change this in. Wanted to see. Don't want it by. Let me use transaction. Yeah, transaction type. Total revenue. Get total patient. Get per patient. Get total transaction. Yeah, let's get to do analysis. I'm just using this for instance. Get some kind of tables or some kind of deep analysis. I can go to my overview page now, and very fast way to do it. Just go to my insert buttons. Insert, you see button. Click on button. The buttons now. What I need is navigator. I need to navigate page. Click on page navigate. Show me the pages that are automatically are brought in 2 buttons: overview and analysis. And actually edit this by going to add formatting part. Go to File. No, I'll go to first pages. I want it to show me all the pages. Show me the different pages and everything. And I can go to shape, rectangle shape, make it rounded corner. Then I can do grid layout. I want it to show me horizontally, vertically. Sorry, I do like this. Then the padding is the padding. Yep. I can take this down here. Is it? In Power BI service, once this thing goes to Power BI service now, I can change the colors here. Now it's showing me over because I'm the over on my overview page. I can select this. For me to be able to use it in Power BI desktop, I need to click Control. That's it. But once it goes to Power BI Cloud, not going to you don't need to use Control again. So I can click. If I click my Control and select it, it takes me straight. So if I click on Overview now, go back, click here, copy it, go to Analysis page, and paste it. Once I paste it, it will tell me that with that that visual slice everything. No, that's not what. This is what I call Control C. Go to my analysis and I Control V. I paste it automatically now. In that this is the third day. Go to the overview page. That's in the overview. For you to make it so that you don't get confused, actually change the colors. Work on the color. Go to format. Like this. Go to format. And change the colors. On default, that's at the status at the way it is. What do you want it to show? Want this to be this? You want it that once you over on it, you see on over when you over on it, that do you want it to be? What does the font? The font can change the font color, that color, right? Then you can change the. So if you hover it now, change to white. And do all your settings here, how you want your buttons to work. If you want it that on default is showing white instead of this, or you want on default, you can change this. On default setting, let this be and default, let it be bold. So you know, okay, then default is bold. Then maybe on select, once you overhit, how do you want it to show? Let me make on default. Let me set over on it. So now if I over on it, I see change color and it happens only for the page you want. So now it's on overview, control, click it now. Takes me to, if I add another page now, it and another page, automatically it will increase it. Let's go here, sites. Increase it to, now it's showing that it's on the site page. You can interchange the color that any page it is, it will show white. For example, this now, overview, want your overview to show white. So let's say default, let's font color, default, default field. On this for this Static, but works the other way around. Works the other. Selected, selected, okay, selected the font color, fill color, then on default here, default black, so that we know that this is one we actually copy this, go down to this showing that this is the insight page. Go to the overview page, control and create the. Do we understand up to this point? Still have 21 people on. That's good. Yeah. Please, I need more thumbs up to show that we understand what you're. Okay. That's perfect. So now we have designed a simple dashboard with pages. So what you need to do yourself, work, look at the data set. Look at the data set. If possible, tell ChatGPT, I have these data sets. I have these data sets. These are the columns I have in my data set. I have a users and a transaction table. Show me all the KPIs, how best to analyze this data to my stakeholders. ChatGPT will give you all the KPIs you need to do. Use it, build your visual. Don't copy what I did. Do your own. I beg, please, Ejo, other language. Please do your own. Make it unique so that if you are posting it, if you are putting your portfolio, it's something that is this particular project. I need all the data sets, all the KPIs you can do. It's going to take 2 weeks because next week we'll not have a class, not be available. Actually, not be available, not be have to use these 2 weeks and build. I'll be responding to chats though. Use these 2 weeks and build this because the other time I'm coming back to summarize Power BI is just to show you something. I've shown us from getting data in Excel, getting transforming data, building our data models, in a Power ML. So once you finish this now in Power BI Cloud, Power BI Cloud, that is where you publish your data set for your bosses or your stakeholders or your other colleagues. Once you finish this now, for me, I used to hide this other page. Just right click, hide this page. Right click here, hide this page. Leave only my overview page. What I do now, if I go down to publish, publish it now. Because I have an official, because I have an official Power BI account, because Power BI Cloud, you have to register it using an work email. It doesn't allow personal email, which is what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this, I'm going to join like only 20 people access so that they can go to, as I have a company access, give them their name at them to be able to open a Power BI. I'm going to do it based on those that I see that dashboard is what something like they actually did work on their dashboard. If I will study all the dashboard and see those, I'll pick 20, give them access to my Power BI personal company account, and to be able to publish it and Power BI service. Okay. So it will ask me if I want to make changes. I will save the change. It's going to open Power, Going to ask me to save, okay, Twitch health care. Going to ask me to save it. One thing you always remember, always say, I didn't even remember, always save your work every minute because it can be very funny to crash. You start from the beginning, or you go and see a version that stops somewhere. So always remember to control S. Every interval, you have done one major. So now I have a power. I've saved it, and it's asking me where do I want to put it. And put it in my project because this is my own. Select it, publish it to Power BI Cloud now. Once I publish it to Cloud, once it publishes, show me that success. Now I can open this, open it, open it. So since I've published it, just to show where did I save it? My Power BI service because I have a going to show. To take. So now this is my Power BI Cloud now. See all the reports I've seen. When I just go to workspace, yeah, the class recording. I saved it under my project. This is my workspace. Workspace. Power BI Cloud is another different topic entirely. Like you need to understand this is where you share your reports. So I have my project here in my workspace. I created the works. I have my okay. Okay. So here I have you can see what that then when I published it now, it saves two things. Number one, it saved the report. You can see the type report. Number two, it saved the data sets and the model. So now another person that wants to work on with this data set that I have cleaned, I've cleaned this data set, I've done the model. The person can connect to this data set, this clean data set now, and use it to build another report. That's a different topic. And let's see the report that I saved. I click on this Stretch Healthcare saved now. And another this is me as another person, not me as the person that published it. That person now, this is what I see. And because I hit other pages, I will just see only this page. So now I can be able to say, oh, this person created this here. So analysis now. Just click on analysis, take me to analysis page. Okay, I look at it and click on insight, I go to insight page. It's done. Power BI. I can see all the filters person use, play with it anyhow, read the report, select leads, go to overview page, see what is happening, select department that I want to view. This is your manager interacting with your report now. And so you can check for each month, check January, check April, what is happening each month. This is on Power BI. So, but for you, you cannot publish except you create an account. If I share this report with you here now, you need to create an account to see. Except I share it as public a public web link for you. So this is on Power BI service. So at the end of the day, for you to be able to do this, you have to register, have an account, a work email. If you have any work email that is not Gmail, not Yahoo Mail, you have any other email that is work email, you can use it. Sign up Power BI Cloud. Yep, use it. So for those of you that have, actually use it. This is the cloud. But by here, we can actually be able to select as an admin. I can check who I want to share this to. I can even edit here. But if I edit here, anything I edit and save here, if I publish again, it will overwrite it. Those are another thing with version control, which is another deeper part when you started working in industries, learning how to work with reports, how to manage workspace, how to manage users actually viewing this report, how to share this report, and other things too. That's how you learn those ones. For now, let's just stick on how to create reports, get the analysis done before we talk of sharing. So with that, I think we'll be able to come to the end of this class. I don't stretch it much again. I've kept people, I know like it's 12 o'clock at your side now. So use the data set, build your reports, do it your own best way, and and finish it. Once you finish it, this is what you do. Go to your file that you save it. You can see it is saved as a PBIX file. It is saved as a PBIX file. This is PBIX file. This is the file going to upload. You go anywhere you saved it. Like me, I saved it in my document. Just go to your document. That's how you're going to submit it. The 2 weeks class, 2 weeks assignment. Submit it, then up in the same link that we've been using to submit all our things. I will separate it when the time comes. Separate all the Power BI files. Get it, separate it, and put this file, Power BI file, here, submit it. I will go through all the reports. Then ones that I see that actually did something, I analyze the data well, you'll do your presentations, you document it. So a lot of things. First of all, you get the data set, analyze it, build your reports. Secondly, you document it the way we documented our Excel reports. Document it that way too. Then submit just Power BI file. Once you submit it, I'm going to look at it when I'm back off for 2 weeks plus traveling. I will not be available for Excel. So after 2 weeks, when I'm sure that you have gotten this, once we come back, we review everything, then we go straight SQL. With this, you have basic knowledge of Power BI. I cannot teach you everything. I cannot teach you, but this basics is what you need build on. Best thing you can do for yourself now is do more reading. Maybe you can just get some 5-10 minutes videos, watch it. From there, really progress. Thank you very much, guys. I don't know if you have any question from anybody. Let me know.